What are you doing, Doc?
I need fuel.
Give me fuel, take a fly, ship me tracing out of style.
Now, here are your hosts, John Eddie Jr. and Tom Tuttle.
Welcome to episode number 50 of Fantasy Fuel. That's right, the Big 5-0. And to celebrate the Big 5-0, we're going to start by letting Tom tell you some free agent news.
Hey, the New York Jets did what I thought they would do all along, and that is get Le'Veon Bell as the running back. And I think this should help the Jets quite a bit. I think they're going to be a little more than competitive this year, and they have a shot to make the playoffs. I'm not saying they will, but they got a shot. They've improved their defense. They've improved their offense. I like where they're headed.
And I talked to you earlier, but we were saying that was a little anticlimactic for certain reasons. It's still a big signing, but it just wasn't as exciting as, maybe swooping in at the last minute like I thought the Eagles were going to do with, Tevin Coleman or somebody like that. None of that really happened, but we'll get to some more of that later. We're going to talk Le'Veon Bell first.
Yeah.
And he went for the money, which wasn't as much as he probably could have got the year before. Yep. But he seems like he's happy. He's going to get $25 million fully guaranteed, along with an $8 million signing bonus. So $33 million guaranteed, 14.5 year one, 26 million through 2, 39.5 million through 3, and 52.5 million through year 4. If they make it all the way through their contract, with incentives that could get it up to around 61 million. So he's getting paid, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So that may have helped the Jets just a little bit, maybe with some wiggle room with some other players. So
if I don't know if we're done completely in the free agency yet, but there's not a lot left. I definitely like what we've done, like I said. And listen, we'll probably talk about it too, but I think the Bills made a splash. I think the Patriots are going to have to just look over their shoulder a little bit. I'm not saying they won't win the division or anything like that, but they're going to have to put something together. They really haven't done anything in free agency, really.
There was a few real small guys, probably role players, but you know how they are in their role players. If they've got a guy to do a certain thing, that's all it takes. So it doesn't have to be Golden Tate, and it doesn't have to be Tevin Coleman. So they'll still be fine. But yes, they're going to have to watch their backs just a little bit, because the Bills and the Jets, they've been making moves. And the Dolphins, who usually ruin their day somehow during the season, they haven't done anything.
Yeah. Maybe they're just afraid to mess something up. I don't know.
I don't think they have to try very hard. So anyway, Le'Veon Bell has told us a few things about why he signed with the New York Jets. And one of those things was Jamal Adams. He said Jamal Adams did everything to recruit him. He was constantly reaching out, texting, calling, Instagram, Twitter. He made it happen. So Jamal Adams he's pretty much the New York Jets captain at this point.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
On social media.
Without Le'Veon Bell being there, he is the best player the Jets have. And now Le'Veon's there. I'm still giving it to Adams. Le'Veon has to prove to me that he can come back from a year of being off, and getting a little bit chunkier and losing that weight, whatever it is. I still believe Adams is the best player on the Jets, and I love Adams. There's absolutely nothing so far that has made me believe that he is not just superb in every facet. As a human being and as a player.
And he's got some more help. They signed CJ Mosley, and I have been a fan of Mosley for quite some time. Ever since he came into the league, I have had him in an IDP league. This is the first year that I'm not going into a season with CJ Mosley on a roster. I will have to pay for him or draft him somewhere if I want CJ Mosley. So with the Jets now, I have to make that decision. Am I going to keep going after Mosley on a new team, or am I going to give up on him this year?
Well, if you're going to go after him in the flag league, you're going to have a hard time.
Yeah.
Because he is a free agent in that league, and I might just go after him. It's possible.
Sorry, I franchise tag Zach Ertz instead of CJ Mosley. Although you were already trying to get Zach Ertz off of me.
Yeah, that's not going to happen
yet, but it's probably now.
Definitely not. And I don't know if you saw that I did make a trade with the Cardinals, which is another one of our friends, and Gary. But yeah, that took everything I had to just get that trade done. I don't know how much it favors me, but it's something I needed to do for the plan that I have going forward.
Well, there you go. As long as you're happy. A couple more things on the Jets and Lev Bell before we move on to some other giant news. Le'Veon said that Sam Darnold's potential factored into his decision to sign with the Jets, and if he didn't say that, I would be a little concerned. So I hope he thinks Sam Darnold has potential. I mean, I know he's going for the money, but you got to think that there's something there. I mean, maybe not this year.
Right. I mean, he's got 4 or 5 years to figure that out. So I think at some point the Jets are going to be a playoff team with Le'Veon Bell. I don't know if it's this year or next year or whatever, but at some point with that contract, we're going to be in the playoffs.
I certainly hope so.
Guarantee.
Now, I'm sure you remember, but let's remind everybody, there was something that somebody asked Le'Veon Bell last year, how much money it would take to sign with the New York Jets. Do you remember how much he said?
I don't remember the amount, but it was a very, very high price. But that was way before he realized that we had potential. He thought we were the worst team in football.
Yes, and he said $100 million. So now that he is on the Jets and he has signed his $52.5 million deal, there's another quote. I grew up a Curtis Martin fan, loving the New York Jets. When the season ended, all the stars aligned with the Jets. They were my favorite team growing up. In my head, that's where I wanted to go. I'm glad we made it happen. I'm happy.
What?
They're happy. He has had tweets from when he was younger about the New York Jets. So it is backed up that he is an actual Jets fan. But to say that last year was a little weird.
Yeah, that's kind of like that's throwing out double standards a little bit. That's kind of crazy. But
I love the Jets, but not when they suck. Oh wait, they got a lot of money and they got some potential. I like them again. Fair weather Le'Veon. All right.
All right, let's move on. We got all the players we got to talk about.
Yes. Well, one last thing, because of the Le'Veon Bell signing, the New York Jets have released Isaiah Crowell.
Yes.
There's a running back on the market more than there was earlier this week.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. We don't need Crowell. We got young guys in Trenton Cannon and Elijah McGuire, and I believe we still have Powell. I'm not certain on Powell, but them guys right there are perfectly fine as a backup. I don't have a problem with them.
What do you say? Would you think maybe the Patriots will bring him in for a workout?
Yeah, they probably will. They most likely will, and say, "Hey, what's their game plan? What do you see out of this?" And then they're gonna be like, "Yeah, we're gonna give you a contract." And oh, never mind. You gave us all that information. That's all we needed.
All right. Before we move on, do you have any Le'Veon Bell predictions fantasy wise this year?
Top 10. I don't see any reasons why he
go on a
can't
limb
be.
there, Tom.
I don't see any reason he can't be top 10. Top 5, I can see it, but I don't know if I'm ready to go there yet. I have to see him at least in the preseason, maybe in workouts or something, to where I can absolutely see that it's going to be good going forward, because he had a whole year off, and the Jets are not the Steelers, so I'd like to see how this all connects.
Oh, sure, sure. And speaking of the Steelers, they seem to not be the favorite in their own division anymore.
No, not even close, really, in my opinion.
That's because of the giant blockbuster trade that happened that for I don't know how many months, the New York Giants said, no, he's not on the block. Oh, but we'll listen. Nope, he's not being traded. We're going to give him a contract extension. We're not trading him. And guess what? The Giants traded Odell Beckham Jr. to the Cleveland Browns in return for the 17th overall pick, the Browns' second to third round pick this year, and safety Jabril Peppers.
That's the shocker of the week. Nobody really saw it coming. It's just pow. You texted me, OBJ got traded to the Browns. I was like, what? I couldn't believe it. I had to actually look it up on my phone, and lo and behold, it happened. And side note, I saw this video of a guy. You've probably seen it. Everybody's probably seen it by now. But this guy was just screaming, holding his phone, looking at it. I can't believe it. And his wife was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? It was hilarious. But, yeah, he obviously found out that the Browns got OBJ, and that team it's ready to go. Yeah, they have a really good shot.
So speaking of screaming, a woman in Cleveland called 911 because she saw someone running and screaming through the streets because that person was celebrating the fact that they just got OBJ.
Oh my God.
So OBJ caused a 911 call in Cleveland already. People are losing their mind.
They have to have something to celebrate. I mean, this last year was very positive. They actually thought everything was going to go well, and they had somewhere they could get to. This year, not only did they get OBJ, but they got Hunt. And Hunt's obviously not going to be around for the whole season, but next year, man, they could be something special, really special.
Before we get to the rest of their roster, let's talk about some things about Odell Beckham Jr. between the Browns and the Giants. First of all, there's a nice little quote out there from OBJ, because of all of his drama that people have been talking about. He came out and said, I'm not a Cancer, I'm a Scorpio. Sorry for the confusion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks for the great insight there.
Pretty good, but as of right now, Odell Beckham Jr. and Olivier Vernon are scheduled to count $32.5 million against the Browns salary cap this year, and $24 million against the Giants salary cap.
Oh, insult to injury right there. That is just that's great.
The Giants are paying $33.7 million to 9 players who are not even on the team this year.
Wow. That's really all you can say to that.
Yeah.
The Giants are in a very bad situation. They don't have much of anything going forward this year. It's just not good for them. They have to rebuild, and I mean, maybe the trade for trading Odell is the start, but that's just they have to do. Yeah.
There are only 2 players left on the Giants who played under Tom Coughlin in his last season in 2015. That's 51 players gone in a little over 3 off seasons.
Right. Besides Eli, who is it? Who's the other guy?
I did not say. It's probably some special teamer or something.
Okay,
I mean, it wasn't a known name. The Giants have 1 of 21 prime picks from 2010 through 2016.
Okay, well, that's something.
Yeah,
it's something.
The Giants did say they would explore a trade for Josh Rosen if he is made available.
At this point, you might as well just get him over there, have him sit behind Eli for 1 year, and just suck it up because you're not going to win. You're not going to win.
Nope. All right. So that's enough about crapping on the Giants. We'll talk about the Browns roster since that's where OBJ is now destined to play for the next few years. Their roster, I tweeted out about a couple of things. Just listen to their offensive roster. Baker Mayfield, who already showed that he can do it.
Yep.
Odell Beckham Jr., his college teammate, Jarvis Landry, who everybody out there knows at Fantasy Fuel, we love some Jarvis Landry.
Oh, yeah.
Antonio Callaway, who has shown promise, and he only has to be the number 3. So whatever.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt after his suspension. They still have Duke Johnson, though there have been rumors about them trading him.
Yeah.
And the up-and-coming tight end, David Njoku. How can Cleveland keep all of these guys fed and all of us fantasy football players happy?
Winning. They don't have to keep them fed as long as they're winning. And fantasy football, I don't know. They will, because all these guys are going to be big. The only one I could see maybe that doesn't get fed as much, besides maybe Duke Johnson, is maybe Njoku. I could see them kind of straying away from him just because they have so many other weapons they can go to.
Well, here's an amazing stat that just it shows how dangerous this team could be, not only from long plays, because OBJ can obviously score from anywhere on the field, whether it's a pass or a 60-yard bomb.
Yeah.
Jarvis Landry, since 2015, Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. rank 2nd and 3rd in total missed tackles forced after the catch. So not only are they going to get open, and Baker Mayfield is a fairly accurate quarterback, even when you're right on top of them, there's 2 of the best in the league at forcing missed tackles.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Insane to watch. There's going to be Brown highlights galore.
At least you hope so. I said to you earlier when all this happened, if they don't make the playoffs, if they don't win the division, I think is what I said. If they don't win the division, then I'm not going to watch any more Browns games for the rest of my life unless they play the Jets in a playoff game. But that has to be later on. It can't be this year, because this year, if they make the playoffs, all is good. But they have to make the playoffs this year.
Yes, if they don't make the playoffs, oh my God! If the Giants have a better record than them at the end of the year, something is going to be wow.
In order for the Giants to have a better record, the Browns would have to go 0-16 again, and that's not going to happen.
You would hope not. Oh my God!
Oh, that would be a disaster. But there's no chance of that.
All right. Well, let's move on to my side of the field of football. And an interesting trade that happened. I thought this person had been cut, and then like 20 minutes later, it said he'd been traded.
Mm-hmm.
That is our boy DeSean Jackson has come back home to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Now we have the deep threat. I know he's a little bit older, but still one of the fastest guys in the league.
Still fast.
And Carson Wentz needs somebody that can stretch the field. So maybe we finally got our guy that can stretch the field, and we're not so one-dimensional on offense anymore. Zach Ertz.
Yeah, that's pretty much what you guys have been for a little while. I mean, Jeffrey is still pretty decent. But I said this on the Shuffling the Deck episode that I did. He is somebody who is a big play type of receiver. And normally I don't go after people like that, but he is not just a big play type receiver. He is also a consistent player. And when you're talking fantasy football, that's the kind of guy you got to get.
Yeah, it's weird that as much of a big play guy he is, he still has a decent floor.
Right.
And he doesn't go completely bonkers, so it's not Tyreek Hill type where
right
a couple of catches for 30 yards, or it's 6 catches for 188 yards and 3 touchdowns. We're not getting that from DeSean Jackson. You can play him as a wide receiver 3 in fantasy or a flex play and get consistent results.
Right, exactly. That's all I was trying to say.
Apparently the Eagles had made inquiries into other speedy receivers aside from DeSean Jackson, one being Kenny Stills from the Dolphins, but apparently Miami had zero interest at the asking price.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I would have been happy with Kenny Stills.
It's not bad. He's not a horrible player. It's just I at this point I'd rather have Deshaun Jackson because one, he likes to be on the Eagles. I mean, there's no doubt about that. You know that. Oh, yeah. And two, he's just what the Eagles need. I don't know. It just seems right. It fits.
It does. It fits. I can get my jersey back out and everything is all good. Quote from Deshaun Jackson during his little first presser earlier today is, "All I know is I'm glad we don't got to deal with Odell." All right. And like I said, I got the jersey back out because Deshaun Jackson worked out a deal with Matt Collins, who had his number 10 before. And Matt Collins said about giving Deshaun Jackson his number back, "Got me feeling like Geico the way I saved y'all money on new jerseys."
I want to backtrack a little bit. They don't play the Browns, do they?
I do not believe so.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. That would be funny if they did. Yeah. But yeah, at least we don't have to worry about them twice a year. Once in the regular season and once in the Super Bowl, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be every 4 years as long as it continues. But
right. And because of Deshaun Jackson's return to Philadelphia, there was some questions about Mr. Nelson Agholor.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's likely to remain on the team for this year, but there's almost zero chance that we're going to be able to pay him what he's worth if he has another decent season. So
yeah, he's going to have to be open to take less money if he wants to stay on the team. But I don't know if he will because he's a decent wide receiver. It could be a 3 anywhere really, or maybe even a 2 on some teams.
Yeah, he's more of a slot guy. If he can move back and stay in the slot, I would be very, very happy because know that's where he was a couple of years ago and had his big comeback season, and I was just fine with that kind of role for him.
Mm-hmm.
So unless somebody offers some weirdly big trade of some kind, he'll probably still be there in our offense. We just got talking about the Browns. Well, our offense is Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, Nelson Agholor, Zach Ertz, and Dallas Goedert, who is still up and coming.
Yeah.
The only problem I see right now is that we haven't gotten a bigger running back.
Yeah. He's just going to have to sign Jay Ajayi back and hope for the best. He's really the only running back left, unless you want to get Crowell. I don't know if you want to do that.
No, not really. I mean, I'd rather try and get LeGarrette Blount back if we were going to go that route. So.
I agree with that. I mean, you might as well just do that. But Crowell right now, to me, is a backup unless he goes to a team that has no chance. But I don't know.
Yeah. Well, let's go from incoming Philadelphia players to outgoing Philadelphia Eagles players and somebody who deserves every single penny of this new deal because of what he has done for Philadelphia. And that is new Jaguars quarterback Nick Foles.
Yeah.
Got a 4-year, $88 million deal with upside up to $102 million.
A guy, man, alive. He is going to be making some change on that. That is awesome for him.
Yep. Very, very happy for Mr. Foles. He got his deal. We didn't have to go out on some weird terms where everybody was pissed off at Carson Wentz or pissed off at him for some reason. And we get our warm and fuzzies every time we hear Nick Foles.
And just
we don't have to worry about it.
Just think, 3 years ago, he was contemplating retirement. And now he's getting offered $102 million.
Yeah, he went fishing and said, well, you know what? I'm going to give it one more shot. And that shot turned into millions and millions and millions of dollars.
And a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and the Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, yep.
So when Tom Coughlin introduced Mr. Nick Foles at the press conference today, he began by telling everyone to sit up straight, both feet on the floor. This is a new day, and we charge ahead. Nick Foles represents change and a new start for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
That's like the best thing I've ever heard come out of Tom Coughlin's mouth.
Right.
He should be a head coach.
That's interesting.
It's just so stupid. No, I mean, I kind of agree with it. It's a little weird, but sit straight up. Here comes our future.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
But what kind of success do you think he can have in Jacksonville? They don't have an amazing wide receiver there that he can rely on. I mean, there's D.D. Westbrook and DJ Chark and guys like that. There's just nothing.
Yeah. I'm guessing 8-8. Unless the defense steps up like they did a couple years ago, I can't imagine they do much better than 9-7 at the most. Like I said, though, it all is the defense. If the defense can be successful like they were, they could make the playoffs and they could make a run. And Fournette has to stay healthy and be productive. That is another big key for the Jaguars.
Yep. I think it's all on Leonard Fournette. I mean, the defense has said they can do it, although they have lost a couple of guys, one of them to Philadelphia, Malik Jackson. I'm very happy to see him come over to the Eagles on defense. But and the Jaguars lost a wide receiver to the Pittsburgh Steelers, Dante Moncrief. Reached agreement on a 2-year deal with the Steelers. So that may hesitate a little bit of James Washington dynasty value.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, what do you think that happens with Washington? But I think we'll see what happens going forward into the preseason and all that. But I think they still have a plan for Washington to be something. But maybe Moncrief is just like the stopgap for right now.
It could be. I think Moncrief should be okay there as long as he stays healthy. Big Ben's going to have to throw it to somebody other than Juju every single play. And if he can, go through his progressions, I don't know how Big Ben has been as far as throwing his progressions the last few years. It seemed like he was forcing the ball a lot to Mr. Big Chest, but we will find out now that he is no longer there and they no longer have Le'Veon. The Steelers are going to be an interesting team to track through, the preseason and all through 2019.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of questions so far on Facebook and whatever places that people post questions. I would say that people are a little down on Juju just because they think that, they don't have Antonio Brown across from him. I actually am a little reversed on that. I think that, like you said, he forced the ball. I tried to Antonio Brown as much as possible. Now he's got to force the ball to somebody, and I think that's going to be Juju. And I don't expect they don't have. I mean, Connor's pretty decent still, but I can't imagine they don't go to Juju more than they even did last year because they kind of have to. And I know they're going to try and cover him, but if they do that, Moncrief is good enough to get that offense or get the defense to look his way, so that will open up Juju some more. I think Juju will be fine. If any worse, it won't be that much worse than he was last year.
Yep, I think you're absolutely right. I think Juju's going to be fine. I don't know. I want to see Antonio Brown numbers out of him. I don't know that that's possible yet.
I don't think he's got Antonio Brown numbers out of him, but I just think that he's going to be successful. I mean, last year was beyond what I expected out of him, and I think he goes to about there anyway.
And I think the big question is, how high do we think Juju will go in drafts? I don't know that I would take him maybe at the end of the second, at the very highest, depending on who I already had. If I got Zeke or Christian McCaffrey in the first round because I was one of the first 2 or 3 picks and that was the best wide receiver left at the end of the second, maybe. But I would definitely take him in the third now. It may look more and more like he's a second-round wide receiver, but I'm going to hold off just for a little bit.
We have a lot of time to tell when that's going to happen because drafts aren't going to happen for a couple months still. So, but, a lot of people are kicking it in gear in April, so we'll see.
Yep. And, well, you mentioned it earlier. At least I think you did.
I did.
We were just talking. It's time to talk Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
They have made some acquisitions. I know there's not a lot of sexy names on this list, but there's some help for Josh Allen because the Bills have signed a new center in Mitch Morse.
Yep.
A wide receiver in John Brown.
Yeah.
A wide receiver in Cole Beasley, who do two totally different things.
Yeah.
They have signed another ageless wonder in Frank Gore. So now their backfield, like they have Frank Gore, LaShawn McCoy, and I think Chris Ivory might still be there. I'm not sure if he's or not, but if he is, that backfield is a total of like 96 years old.
Yeah, I was going to say that's one of the oldest backfields. I mean, and that's awesome. I want that to be successful. I want to see the old people get their justice, because these are the guys that when they fade out of memory, you look back and be like, wow, remember the day. Like even Adrian Peterson, when he went back to Washington and signed there, it's like, all right, I like it. Takes a little bit of the spotlight off of Geis a little bit. I think that kind of makes things weird there. But we're talking about the Bills, and I really like the fact that they got some oldies, and their wide receivers are better too. They've done well.
Yep. They also signed tight end Tyler Croft, who is
right.
Cautiously optimistic tight end. I like it. He might go under the radar. He's one of those guys. If you go with a not so sure thing at tight end, which of course these days there's not many of those. He's a guy that you can maybe take at the end of the draft just to see.
Right.
Or, maybe week 1 or 2, if he has a decent week, you grab him up off the waiver wire if nobody else has him.
Right.
But the Bills also signed a couple of other offensive linemen, so they are actually trying to give Josh Allen the time he needs to sit there and be a real quarterback instead of pulling it down and having to jump over people.
Right. And I think they will actually be a pretty decent team this year. Let's remember, 2 years ago, they were in the playoffs. I didn't think they deserved it 2 years ago,
right?
But they can be a good team. And now that they've improved, at least I think they have, another decent chance of doing that again. Now, I would rather see the Jets do that or,
of course.
I'd rather see the Bills win the division than the Patriots, but I'm not rooting for the Bills in any facet. I'm still a Jets fan, as you can clearly see.
Yeah,
and I talk about every single week.
So we all know Josh Allen has a big arm, and that's one of the things we love about him.
Yeah.
The Bills, one of their things that they could have on the field at any time, a 3 wide receiver set that could include John Brown, Robert Foster, and Zay Jones.
It's not bad.
40 times out of college. For John Brown, 4.34. Robert Foster was a 4.41 and Zay Jones was a 4.45.
Yeah.
We've got some speed on the field, and John Brown said he thinks Josh Allen is one of the few quarterbacks with a strong enough arm to overthrow him. I'm looking forward to seeing how much John Brown can get overthrown, and if they can get on some kind of sync, it will be you all know I already have a man crush on Josh Allen, so
you need to write a letter to him like I did Drew Brees last year.
I think we will.
I think you're gonna have to do that. Maybe a couple episodes away or something like that.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that because I got lots of love to throw Josh Allen this year. So we talked about him earlier, but I want to bring him back up one more time before we get into some of the lesser but still fantasy relevant free agent moves. Talked about Golden Tate to the Giants, which I don't understand. The contract terms were 4 years, $37.5 million that included $23 million fully guaranteed. But here's a quote from Golden Tate in January. "If I don't stay here in Philadelphia, I want to go to a team that has a chance. My years are limited. I don't have time to go to someone trying to rebuild. I need to go somewhere with solid pieces and they can win now."
Huh.
While I don't, I'm not mad at Golden Tate for going to the Giants And I understand you can't feed your family and your future kids and grandkids with Super Bowl rings. So I understand that he went and got the money that he did, but you can't tell me that the Patriots weren't offering him
something
close to that.
Yeah. Why don't you just sign with the Patriots? Do you feel like maybe that at the end of the day they're just going to cut you? I mean, you're better than that. He's not a bad receiver. He's still good. It's just
he fits the mold of receivers that they like in Washington, except for the fact that he's not white.
In Washington?
I mean, sorry, in New England, Washington. Where did I even get that from?
I have no idea.
Let me say that he fits the mold of the receivers that they have in New England, except for the fact that he's not white, which our next person actually alluded to, Adam Humphries, when asked about going to New England, why he chose the Titans over New England. He didn't really give too much of an explanation, but he said, I shook on coming to the Titans. I'm a man of my word. Obviously, you know, I'm the type of player that they, you know, have success with in New England. Really? you really? So, yeah, he alluded to that fact that he could have fit right in New England, but Adam Humphries chose to go to the Tennessee Titans. And both you and I said the other day, I think that's going to tank some of his value.
Yeah, it does kind of mess his value up a little bit, but I want to go back to the Patriots a little bit. And because Jordy Nelson just got cut, so I think he's going to the Patriots. It's a given.
Packers fans, we would be hearing it nonstop.
Yeah.
How did you do that to us? Yeah.
Pretty much every Packer fan that I've talked to since the cutting of Jordy Nelson from the Raiders has been, well, we should get him back for just one more year.
Instantly.
Like,
let's get him back. Like, why? He's not the Jordy Nelson you remember.
Yeah, but it was only 2 years ago that he was. So it seems like, I don't know. I get it. I understand where they're coming from, but you got to work with the young guys. You got a lot of them. So you got to progress them, and to stick him behind, you know, you got Cobb is still there, and obviously Adams is still there.
Cobb is a free agent.
Did they release him?
Yeah.
Okay. I must have missed that. But yeah, you don't want to put your young receivers behind two guys that are going to be the starters for that team. At least they kind of did it with what's his name, Jones. I can't remember what his first name is, but
James Jones.
James Jones, that's it. They did that with James Jones. They brought him back, and he was successful for 4 weeks. And then
it was a very short stint, but it was really good for that short stint.
Oh yeah, it really was, and that was surprising. And then everybody on fantasy was like, "Oh, gotta get James Jones," and then it didn't work out.
No. So back to Adam Humphries. I don't think Marcus Mariota has what it takes to keep Adam Humphries very fantasy relevant. He'll be one of those guys you can plug in on the bye weeks, but I'm not going to rely on him. We got to see. I mean, we still haven't seen Corey Davis make it.
Right.
Granted, it wasn't bad last year, but it wasn't the season everybody's been touting for 2 years now for Corey Davis.
There's no question that Humphries is not going to be as good as he was last year. And that's with two quarterbacks. Yeah, he was successful with two quarterbacks in that system. Now he's going to presumably one quarterback, unless he gets hurt when Mariota gets hurt, because that's a possibility.
Oh yeah,
but I just don't see it. And that's one of them guys that it doesn't really matter as far as fantasy goes, because most people aren't looking at him anyway. So I would assume that it's just not going to be that good. I really don't think it will be.
Nope. I was hoping he'd go somewhere and I could grab up some shares of Adam Humphries, but I don't know that I'm going to have any. shares of Adam Humphries, and I can't tell everybody out in listening land to.
I might take a late flyer on him just to see, but that's it.
But is he really going to be a late flyer anymore? He got hyped up so much in this offseason, and people are going to take him in, like the 10th, 11th round before you're ready to take flyers.
You're probably right. You're probably right about that.
Now, speaking of somebody who's probably going to spoil some people's days, who has for years now, Latavius Murray. He's going to steal Alvin Kamara touches. We thought, no, it's all Alvin Kamara time, but Latavius Murray is going to steal touchdowns. I guarantee you, he's going
that
to
may be possible. Yeah. That might be possible. The touchdowns will more than likely because he is that type of back. But as far as touches, I kind of expect that he might not get much of anything unless they're at the goal line. So it might be Kareem or.
I'm not the only one having an issue.
But I just don't think that he's going to. I think it's going to be almost a Christian McCaffrey type of deal until they get into the goal line situation.
Oh, so you're comparing Latavius Murray to CJ Anderson now, are you?
No, I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that I think they don't want to have that situation where Mark Ingram feels that he needs to get the ball every single time he's out there and all that. So I think that Murray is just going to be a guy that does the goal line work. And CJ Anderson is not really a goal line type of back. He can be, but it just CJ Anderson, that's another good thing we could talk about because yikes. So what's going to go on with him and the Rams?
It's I don't even want to get into it yet because
I understand. Yeah.
It's the whole thing with Gurley and everybody there. It's an offense that I need a lot more confidence in before I'm gonna get fully motivated to. Yeah.
I debated looking at trading to get Gurley a little bit just because. I know that people are down on him after the whole arthritic knee situation, but I was like, it's just not worth it because they're still going to want me to pay what he was worth as far as what he produced in the regular season, and I'm not willing to do that with him.
Well, and he was franchised this year, so it's not like he has a small contract where you can be like, well, even if I give it up a little bit, it's not going to hurt me salary cap wise. Because I know you're talking about the flag league.
Yeah, we're talking about fantasy football. He was not franchised on the Rams, so let's just be clear on that.
Yeah.
But you're exactly right.
So we have Latavius Murray on the Saints, and the guy he replaced, Mark Ingram, is now going to be on the Ravens, who, wow, if they just have running backs on their squad, they might have just started a new type of offense, and they're just going to run every single play because Lamar Jackson can't throw yet. So why not?
Right. He'll run it. They'll hand it off to Ingram. They'll hand it off to all other 5 of the backs that they have. Everybody will be fresh all the time.
It's a possibility. It is a possibility. I mean, it was such a cheap deal. It was like 3 years, $15 million for Ingram. I was like, really? The Eagles didn't want none part of that? I mean, it seems like we could have afforded that.
Maybe they did, and he just decided to go to the Ravens.
Maybe. And another running back that both of our teams had been mentioned in talks with was Tevin Coleman, who decided to go to the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
Another odd landing spot for a running back. They still have Jerick McKinnon, who obviously didn't get to play last year.
Right.
Still have Matt Breida, who, when he was on the field, looked really good last year. Oh, they're going with a 3-headed monster there too. I don't know. Or are they going to try and trade Breida or McKinnon, or are they just expecting neither of those two guys to stay healthy? Because it's not like Tevin Coleman is the healthiest of running backs, and he needed people in front of him to get hurt in order for him to get volume. So
I honestly think, Coleman to me is the best back out of all 3 of them. McKinnon could prove it, but he has to stay healthy, and that's the biggest problem with him. And I just honestly think that Coleman is going to take that role. I really do think that, and I think Breida is going to be the backup. I don't know what they're going to do with McKinnon, but I don't think that he's going to be a part of the team. If he's on the team, I don't imagine that he's going to have much of a role. I just don't see it.
Nope.
That's just me, though.
Yeah, it's probably not just you, but
okay.
I know it was funny too because the person you just made a trade with in the Flag League, a 49ers fan in real life. He owns the Cardinals franchise in the league, but he's a 49ers fan, and he traded Tevin Coleman literally hours before he got signed by the 49ers. And he's like, really? How did I traded him? And now he becomes on my team. And like, I still actually think that was a good deal for him, what he got out of it, because the situation in San Francisco is a little iffy.
It's a little iffy. But yeah, I knew why he was trying to get D Ford out of me. I was just like, I don't want to give up D Ford right now. But I did end up doing that, and I got some Homer stuff back from him as well. So
yes, that's true. That is very true. Well, we got one last person to talk about, probably not too fantasy relevant, but I thought it was worth talking about because I think this person fits into the scheme.
Yes.
Better than I realized until it actually happened.
Yeah.
It's Cordero Patterson, Chicago Bears. Like, holy crap. That's another speed guy.
That's Cohen.
Gadget guy.
Yeah.
He can be in the backfield. He can be out wide. He can be the kick returner the Bears haven't had for a couple years. It made sense. And I was like, wow, well, good move, Chicago.
I like it because they have Cohen and they have some other guys that are kind of like that as well. And it's just, this is just kind of how the Bears should be. I like the accelerating excitement that these guys, they're just electric. That's kind of how you have to describe them. Patterson has shown that he can be really bad and not productive, but he's also shown that he can be really, really productive. And I think that with the Bears in that system, he can definitely be a productive wide receiver, running back, whatever they want him to be. I mean, he can do it all, really. He's not like the best person at doing everything, but he can be good at all of them positions.
Yeah, you and I talked all last season about Tariq Cohen. Like, Matt, this guy, we're telling you, Tariq is going to be a fantasy guy. And I'm like, wow, this guy is another player. And
it's very possible.
They got Mike Davis as well in Chicago, which means Jordan Howard is probably on his way out. Yeah. And Mike Davis is a guy who can catch some passes too. So they are giving Trubisky all the opportunities in the world. Like, everybody on the field is going to be able to catch like a wide receiver almost. And
I can almost predict, I don't want to put it in the bag because anything can happen, but I really predict that they have a really, really good shot at winning the division again.
Yeah, I don't think you're going too far out on a limb there.
No, I'm not, but it's just the way they were last year and the way the Packers were and the way the Vikings just fell off the map. And the Lions aren't going to be anything special, but I can't imagine that they're not going to have the same success. The Packers, Aaron Rodgers is going to have to find a receiver that isn't super young, that's not named Adams, that can produce for them to be good enough to win that division. And I think it's the Bears division.
And obviously I remember, and most people remember, the playoff game between the Eagles and the Bears, which ended in a double doink and ended in them cutting their kicker. And then they signed a guy named Chris Blewett. Right now, as far as I know, that is the only kicker on their roster, is a guy Blewett.
I know who blew it, and it wasn't Blewett.
It was not Chris Blewett who blew it. Maybe he's going to be the guy who gets to blow it this year.
You sure hope not. If that scenario comes up again, oh man, that would be bad.
Yeah, you really have to I mean, you have to want to be a professional NFL place kicker so badly that you don't care that your last name is Blewett to try and achieve your dream. I mean, that is the absolute worst position to go for if your last name is Blewett.
If he misses any game-winning kicks, the headline is going to be, well, Chris Blewett.
Yep, exactly. Every single time. I mean, if you're an offensive lineman and your last name was Blewett, maybe once in a while, you didn't make your block. Yeah, he blew it. But he didn't lose the game because of it. That's the only opportunity you have as a kicker to make it for yourself, and you're Blewett.
See, that's something I could see like Troy Aikman saying when
don't even
if it was a offensive lineman, he'd be like, "Oh, look at that guy! Oh, he missed a block. He definitely blew it." And then, of course, your Joe Buck's gonna have to say, "That was funny."
Yeah, as long as it's not Chris Collinsworth piping in about something that Brady did.
If Collinsworth and Aikman were together, that would just be the apps. I would not listen to anything. I would just mute it. I can't stand them by themselves, let alone together.
All right. Well, it wouldn't be a newer episode of Fantasy Fuel if we didn't have.
And now it's time for Twatch, this week's Antonio Troubles.
You know, I did my Fantasy Fuel on the Fire about Antonio Brown. So I got a lot about him. I got some of my anger and issues out. And it seems like Antonio Brown is happy. So shouldn't that be the end for this week's Antonio Troubles? Well, we're not done yet. I mean, his introductory press conference in Oakland, he showed up late for. And there's already other stuff out there. Oh, Antonio Brown, critical of Ben Roethlisberger for not working out with him during the offseason. But he's been with Derek Carr on 3 consecutive days in March.
Yeah, he's going to for now. I mean, we'll see what happens later on when or if the Raiders aren't successful. What's going to motivate him to get out there and work out with the team? Like, what if they aren't successful? I can see him being just like, whatever. We're never going to make the playoffs. I don't want to do this.
It's a real enigma over there because of all the stuff going on for the Raiders organization.
Mm-hmm.
How they add Antonio Brown on top of it, who has now re-dyed his mustache back to a normal color instead of that blonde thing that he had growing there. So he looks normal again.
Right. Yeah.
I got to give it to him. He is always smiling, which is great, but it almost seems a little eerie how much he smiles and when he's talking, because it doesn't matter what he's talking about. He's talking about drama and he's smiling. He's talking about how Ben Roethlisberger called the 52 other players on the field kids, and he's smiling. And I'm like, you're pissed off, right? I'm not sure how to take this.
He's definitely somebody I want to be friends with, but I would hate to get in any type of like fallout, because he would just be the guy that would just continually smash you to the end. And I don't think I could be friends with somebody if going into the relationship knowing that that's how it would end up if I did one thing wrong.
Oh boy. And a quarterback, it doesn't take much for a quarterback to do something wrong. And we'll find out just how much Antonio Brown loves his quarterback. If he gets to work out with him all off season, is that going to be enough for him to, okay, well, I know he's got some issues and he's not perfect, or is he going to jump on him as soon as like, man, I told him I was going to run a route like this and he won't do it like that, and we can't get on the same page and it's not my fault.
He might stay quiet for the whole year just to not make waves. I think he's a smart person. No, don't get me wrong on that, but I think that's why I think he might stay quiet. So he won't make waves for the year, and then come next year, if the first 2 weeks aren't good, he might just be like, "All right, we're done. I can't handle this anymore. I need to be traded Trade me back to the Steelers. I don't care.
You want to hear your worst case scenario for Antonio Brown?
Yes.
He is going to pull a Randy Moss in Oakland and not play. And then they are going to trade him to the New England Patriots, and he's going to ball out again. I asked. You said yes.
That's definitely the worst case scenario, and that's not going to happen. I sure hope not. That would be just horrible.
That would be the absolute worst case scenario for everybody involved, especially if Tom Brady's still playing. I mean, just think about because Tom Brady's not the Tom Brady of old where he could just sling it down the field to Randy Moss. Now Tom Brady is the guy who's dumping it off and letting his receivers do the work. And Antonio Brown is one of the best in the league at doing that.
Right. Yep.
Put those two together, it would be insane. So let's hope that doesn't happen.
That's not going to ever happen. Ever.
Strike it from our thoughts. All right. That's going to do it for us this week. If you would like to find us, we have been much more active this week during free agency on social media. So you can get a hold of us on Twitter at Fantasy Fuel, Facebook.com/Fantasy Fuel. We are over on the Fantasy Football Stardom or Situm page on Facebook. And again, all of these links are in the show notes. There's links for gear. There's links for playing fantasy football on there. There's all sorts of stuff. If you're in your app and you can see your links, check them out. We've got all sorts of stuff in there. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, give us a little rating, follow us, subscribe. More subscribers, the better, right? We like that. Right, Tom?
Oh, yeah.
All right. That is going to do it for us. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And don't forget, stay fueled up this off season. Well, let's hope I didn't fuck that up.
Why? What'd you do?